Wanderers Show. Welcome to the latest edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, reunited for 2022. Bob and Colin, if you've just tuned in, we did the last two separately, which is a first. We've not done that before.
Well, we thought we'd be a bit like Westlife or Boyzone, and we'd reunite for the reunited tour and make a lot of money out of it.
My favourite bit, and the one that you did, was where you explained that we hadn't split up.
I was just in case people were concerned.
Where's he gone?
Indeed.
And the following week you were gone.
I know. But no, we haven't split up. We are still very much together.
Yes, in tandem.
Not in that sense, just...
No. People have just tuned in. We haven't split up, we're very much together. Well...
This isn't a Philip Schofield moment. Oh, good, we've already managed to get off topic, and we're only 1 minute in. That's
nice.
Good, isn't it?
Bing, bing for that.
Yes.
We'll be reviewing the fantastic win at Charlton.
It was very good as well.
With assistant manager Richard Dobson. We'll also hear from Jack Grimmer as well, who made a fine contribution to the, I was going to say the show.
He always speaks very well, Jack.
He does speak very well.
Yeah, he's got a media career ahead of him.
Absolutely, he'll be doing some summarising somewhere.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
We look forward to hearing him on a thing.
Yes, on a future podcast, maybe ours.
Yeah, exactly, that'd be excellent.
Yes, yeah, Jack, if you fancy coming in,
you're very welcome.
Let us know. Yeah, we'd be more than happy to have you.
Do pop along.
We will also be hearing from Gareth Ainsworth ahead of this weekend's game against League One perennials Sunderland.
12:30 kick-off, of course.
Yes, which is slightly harsh if you're a Sunderland fan, I do think. And I know that Sunderland fans haven't done themselves any favours with regards to the car parking thing over the past few hours. But even so, I do feel a bit for
Car park gate.
Yes, that they're having to get up at, I don't know, 5:30, something like that, to make sure that you get here for...
Well, then the rest of the day is their own, isn't it?
Well, I suppose so, yes. They can go to the Hellfire Caves or the Eden Centre, There's lots to do in Wycombe.
Just explore, yeah. Maybe go and watch another game.
Yeah, that's true, yes. Blackmore Heath, Risborough Rangers. Not actually sure who is at home this week.
We've not looked into
I'll
that.
have a look. See if Risborough Rangers continue their record-breaking run.
Yeah, also on the show we'll be catching up with Larry Pritchard, who's a former midfielder from the early 70s. He dominated the middle of the park, the sloping park at that.
Oh, yes.
He talks about the slope.
Oh, does he?
Can you imagine him being a midfielder on the slope?
Not really. I still can't quite get over when they say how much Lokes Park sloped, and you do think, really? But but I know that people who were lucky enough to go there all vouch for the slope. But
they vouch for it.
And I'm always really cross that I never actually got to go to Lokes Park
or play on it,
or whatever. Or just wander around on the turf.
It makes you appreciate level playing fields.
It does, yes. I mean, I have managed to walk on the turf at Adams Park.
The hallowed turf.
Yes.
Have you?
I have, yes.
When you say you've managed to, was it quite hazardous?
What?
Or you just weren't supposed to be on it?
That's what you mean. Say, which way are you saying that? I wasn't one of those people who sort of like,
stay off the grass.
Who pretends to be a streaker, but that doesn't seem to be a thing anymore, because when you get streakers these days, they don't actually take their clothes off. I don't quite get that.
Oh.
Well, but you do, don't you? You get people running on the pitch.
Non-streaking streakers.
And, back in like the 70s and 80s, that was the thing, wasn't it?
It's obviously warmer then.
That if people ran on the pitch, they'd normally do it naked, strangely. Yeah. Whereas these days, actually, people just run on the pitch and they're still fully clothed.
You might not believe it to listen to, but this show is quite well planned, and streakers wasn't in the plan.
It wasn't.
No, but nice to cover it. Nice to cover it.
Indeed, yes. We're running a new competition to see how many
covering streakers
we can mention between now and 8 o'clock.
But good news is that a fantastic win against Charlton, especially in response to the defeat against Ipswich previously.
Yeah, I mean, the Ipswich game was slightly disappointing, and personally watching it, I felt once we were 1-0 down, you couldn't really see us getting back into it, so it was great to get the first goal against Charlton, and really it was a similar sort of game after that. We did manage to survive slightly nervous moments at the end when Ryan Innes went very, very close, but Josh Scowen did very well, hooking away the goal-bound header in the closing seconds, where we were all thinking...
The goal-bound header? That's quite poetic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's like you got that from a famous Five book or something.
Yes, possibly I did. Yes, with lashings of ginger beer. But it was, it was one of those moments where you just thought, after all of that, are we only going to come away with a point, which would have been very disappointing? But no.
Famous Five and streakers. We're covering it all today.
We really are.
So Richard Dobson spoke to Phil, who was on last week's show, and the previous show as well.
Yes. And he's on this week's show as well.
After the game at Charlton, to, as we say, talk about how great it was, a response after the Ipswich game.
I was delighted with the response. We knew we weren't quite at it. We knew the reasons why. It's fairly obvious when you haven't played for quite a while, you lose your rhythm. But today was much better, more like us. We could still be better on the ball at times, I felt, particularly first half. But the goal was a good move. Well worked, and I thought our shape defensively and the way that we battled defensively was outstanding.
Quite a tight game again. That first goal, all important.
Yeah, and it was a first real moment of quality between the two sides. They cancelled each other out first half. Not a lot had happened, and it was the first time we'd spoken about it. We said transitions were going to be so important, and we made ours work, and that was the key message to the boys. Charlton scored a lot of goals on transition. They're a quick counter-attacking team, and we needed to stop them from doing that and try and go the other way, because with all their attacking players we knew there'd be space, and we made it work, and unfortunately that was the one that got the goal.
Quite a fresh look to the back three, built around Chris Torino, who's come through the development squad. A clean sheet, a tough place to come. You must be really delighted with that.
Yeah, I'm delighted for him. He's a young lad learning his trade, and he's come straight into a first team in sort of sink or swim time, and he's swimming, which is great to see. But he's ably supported by the older heads around, and obviously Jacobson again outstanding. Jack Grimmer come into the side today, and I thought he was excellent as well. Really read danger well, and they're two solid citizens that we've got that we can rely on and help the likes of Chris to come through it.
And in what was always going to be a tough game coming into this, Mehmeti got the nod in central midfield. Was that to provide a bit more attacking flair?
Yeah, I just felt we could have used the ball better the other night. We didn't use it well enough through midfield, and I felt that we needed to get Gareth McCleary and Anis, because they combine so well together, in more attacking areas, and it might just steady us down because they're both quite calm in possession. It worked to a certain extent, but obviously as the game progressed and Charlton started to get a head of steam up, just felt that Anis's attacking threat was lost, and we needed to change it and bring Dave Wheeler on just to shore things up a little bit and be a little bit more steady, having already got the goal.
It was a more dogged second half performance. Was that the game plan, or was it always to try and nick another on the counter?
No, we wanted to get another goal. I think Charlton applied a little bit more pressure second half. They were a little bit more purposeful with their attacks, but what it did is open up space on the counter, and there were 2 or 3 times that we had chances off of that. Gareth McCleary with a really good move from Jacobson's interception and ball into Vokes, and obviously Brandon Hanlon's always a threat. So I think with the way the game was going, to shore it up, having gained control of the game by going 1-0 up, we could sit in and be a little bit more defensive, and then look to counter as the game progressed.
Before the break in games, the form was really good. The defeat on Wednesday night allowed teams to kind of catch up a little bit. With games against Sunderland, Bolton away and Oxford coming up, how important was it to get the win today? Yeah,
really important, because you don't want to lose 2 on the spin and then end up with Sunderland at home. I'm really looking forward to the Sunderland game. They're the type of games we do really well in at Adams Park. So these are great games ahead of us, but you obviously want to get a win on the board pretty sharpish after a break. You don't want that to become a malaise after that period of time without playing, and unfortunately we've done that today. And we can look forward to the next one on this streak of games, because if we do well in these streak of games, we'll be firmly inside that top 4.
Gareth Ainsworth sent a video message to the team that was put up on Twitter for the fans to see as well. How's he been in isolation? Has he been on the phone to you constantly this week?
Yeah, we've spoken a little bit less as the week's gone on. I think he's relaxed a little bit as the week's progressed. Obviously it was very tough for him early on, but he spoke to me yesterday and just said, look, I'm going to leave you alone tomorrow, so it's up to you, it's on you tomorrow. And that was great to hear, because obviously it shows great faith and great trust from him. And I enjoyed it. The other night there was lots of messages coming through, and I had Josh in my ear, and we've lost Josh today, and so there were no messages, but it just allows you to concentrate on the game a little bit more and trust your instincts, and I was comfortable with that today.
Well, after 2 games at home, I'd imagine Gareth might need a new carpet in his living room.
Yeah. He's. I know how tough it is for him, because he wants to be in the middle of everything, and it's. When you don't feel unwell, you feel like you're not contributing and you should be there. So I understand how difficult it is, but at the same time we have to protect the players, we have to protect the boys and everyone else around, and Kian and Dr Bob have got the protocols in place that is obviously important to keep the squad well and fit and healthy. So we have to respect that, and we'll have him back next week and back to normal.
COVID aside, any news on Ryan Tapper's, Ollie?
But there's still just a little bit of a problem with his back. I think he's training next week, so we should have him back with us shortly. Fingers crossed everything goes all right with him. But he's nearly there. He's very close now.
Really great to hear from Richard Dobson, and fantastic in a football show to get Gareth Carpet mentioned.
Yes, that was very good. And he speaks very well, doesn't he?
Really, really well.
Yeah, you can imagine him as a manager. I can't imagine that Gareth would use the word malaise.
No. Nice.
No offence, Gareth. I just, I can't imagine Gareth doing that.
No, it's a type of pizza, isn't it?
I think possibly it is, yeah.
Gareth's Carpet. That should be a new feature as well, shouldn't it?
You're made up about that, aren't you?
Oh, I do like it. It's a strange mental image that I quite like.
Have you got that on the Wycombe Wanderers Show bingo? Along with the dog leads and
yes,
and the battery operated trousers.
Still to feature.
Yes.
Although we just mentioned them now, I suppose, so
that's true. Yes, you can cross them off as well.
If you're playing along at home.
Another person to speak was Jack Grimmer, who again is another one who speaks very, very well.
Yes,
and should actually do more post-match stuff.
Listen out for a top expression that I don't think quite gets right. Jack Grimmer speaking after the game, also to Phil.
Especially I think after the midweek game at Ipswich, they had that sort of new manager bounce, and I think it just, a few of us have said it looked as if, it had been a little while without a game. I think it blew the cobwebs out the legs, and we were back to our battling, hungry sort of, showing a lot of desire and stuff, and back to our normal selves today, and thankfully we managed to win and keep a clean sheet, which I don't think we've not done as much as we should have this season.
You've had to be patient for your chances this season, and straight into the firing line today. That was a tough second half. Yeah,
it was. They've got a lot of good attacking players. They really threw, especially when they threw caution to the wind and Innes up top. He was a big issue for them, and it was a backs against the wall job at times. But I think that's what we're good at. That's one thing that since I've been here, we always come out swinging, and we showed again today that you have to do that during a promotion push. You don't play well, you win 1-0, happy days. So we'll take it, we'll move on, and a massive game next weekend.
Alongside you and Joe Jacobson, young Chris Farino, he was going to university. It's a great story. He's gone through the development system at Wycombe, and now he's playing first team games. What's he like to play alongside him?
Yeah, first and foremost, he's came in and he's been a great character around the place, like all the young boys. I think first and foremost the club look at characters first ahead of ability, and I think that whole changing room is hungry, and I'm sure he's not going to be the only one that comes through, if not this season, the seasons to come, and he's sort of the next one following in Anis's footsteps. But yeah, like you say, his story is incredible, and he strikes me like he's the kind of guy that's just sort of taking everything in his stride, and he's not taking it for granted. He wants to learn, and I think playing alongside me, Anthony, JJ, amongst others, and Taff himself, he's only going to get better, he's only going to learn, and it's a great club to be at, to progress. So yeah, he's been brilliant since he's came in, and just like a duck to water, he seems to just have taken to it quite easily, and yeah, hopefully he can stay in the team and we can keep winning and keeping clean sheets.
Being one of those experienced players alongside him on match day and at training as well, does that help sort of underline your role as well? You'd have had a senior pro when you were young, no doubt, telling you what to do.
Yeah, I think it's been good for me, looking after sort of helping the young boys as best as I can. It's helped my development as well as theirs. Like you say, being that maybe slightly more experienced player now, I think it's another step forward in my career is how can I help the younger players around me. And since he's came in, he's done well, but I find it keeps my mind switched on talking to him through the game, and it's a good sort of a partnership that we're all kind of getting together, and it's so far it's worked. Didn't work quite so well at Ipswich, obviously, but I think I said to him afterwards it was a learning curve, and even though they lost, he didn't really put much of a foot wrong. So he's in a good place just now, and but like any young player, he needs time, and he'll get all the support that he needs at Wycombe, that's for sure.
The top 8 or 9 places in League One, it's getting very tight up at the top now, and there's some big teams in there. Sunderland coming to Adams Park next, Oxford in a few weeks. It was a big win today, wasn't it, ahead of those games?
It is, yeah. I think nowadays the League One is definitely a mini championship. Every team, you've got such big clubs in this league. Charlton are a massive club that haven't even been near it all season, so it just shows you the depth of the league. They've had a right turnaround since they've changed the manager, and that's why we were extra, buzzing at the end, because it's a tough place to come. You have to pick up results at these kinds of stadiums, and I think you said it there. We've done the points to games ratio is really good, but we find ourselves still fourth, I think, which is just shows the strength of the league, and keeping up with where we want to be, in those automatics is a tough ask, but we've got the squad and the talent to do so.
It's been a tough time for all of football, really, with the COVID situation and players testing positive, games falling foul to that as well.
Yeah.
Gareth Ainsworth has tested positive as well. The last 2 games he's not been there. He sent a message today. How was that received by the players?
Yeah, it was good. He also sort of, we went on a Zoom call with him yesterday in training, and you know what the gaffer's like. He's be itching at the bit to get back. I'm sure that he's found it very difficult being at home and not being out there in the battlefield with the boys, but I think it speaks volumes of the staff that he trusts them implicitly to step in, and it's been a pretty seamless transition. But we will be, looking forward to welcoming him back, and I'm just glad that we managed to get the win to, like you said, afterwards we FaceTimed him in the changing room and he was just delighted. So that one was definitely for the gaffer being away with COVID.
Sunderland next up at Adams Park. Not a lot of love lost between the two teams down the years, but this is set up brilliantly where both teams are in the table.
It is, they started the season very well. They were very lucky to beat us, up at their place. I don't think anyone would disagree, and I think it's, although they dipped off sort of, after their quick start, I think no one was in any doubt that they've got the strength and depth to come back, which they now have. I think they found themselves top before the games today, and I think it shows you their strength and depth that they've dealt with the game load, because they got through in the cup and they still managed to win in the league, so it sets it up nicely for a big game. And I think teams in quite decent form as well, both of us, so we've got to be on the front foot being at home, and no doubt we owe them one after that game up there. It's one to look forward to for sure.
Really great to hear from Jack Grimmer, and spoke so well as well.
Yes, another one who's been on the media training. No, he sounds absolutely great. I'd agree with Phil as well about that. We've had a few tasty clashes against Sunderland over the years. It'll be particularly interesting to see whether there's anything between Luke O'Nien and Anis Mehmeti.
Oh yes, because they clashed, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yes. Anis slightly lost it, if you remember, back up at the Stadium of Light in August. And it was a surprise, because Luke O'Nien, I'm sure he's very competitive and whatever, but he always comes across as one of those players who actually has a smile on the pitch the whole time. And so goodness only knows what happened when Anis then decided that actually his shoulder was going to collide with Luke's head, I think it was.
Anis slightly lost it is another of those famous 5 books which you don't hear so much about.
Indeed, yes. Such as, what was it, itching at the bit?
Yes, that's an expression that we'll try and use more as well.
Yes, the famous 5. 5 are itching at the bit. It's the new Enid Blyton book.
Still to come on the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth, and we'll catch up with former midfielder Larry Pritchard next.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Bing bong. Colin, the people of High Wycombe. It's David Stockdale, number 13, here from Wycombe Wanderers. Not sure what to do this Saturday? Get yourself down to Adams Park. We continue our League One campaign. Bring your chanting A game, help us get all 3 points. Tickets are now available at tickets.wwfc.com. See you there.
Still to come in what we loosely term part 2 of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. For the first of 2022, we'll be catching up with former midfielder. former midfielder Larry Pritchard as well, who dominated the middle of the sloping park in the early 70s. So we'll be hearing from him very soon. We'll be catching up with manager Gareth Ainsworth, looking back, as we say, at the performances he missed, and also talking a little bit about the transfer market as the window is now open. Not in here, it's not.
No, thank goodness, as it's quite cold out there. It must be really weird, actually, being the manager having to watch at home. That must be so, it can be odd as a fan if you go frequently to then be watching a game at home and you slightly feel disconnected. If you're a manager, it must be really, really weird.
Because I remember early in the lockdown as well, getting to speak to him on the phone, and I asked him if he had a dugout at home where.
Yes, I remember, because of course he had his back operation, so he then missed several games, didn't he? Where Dobbo took charge, and actually managed to win a couple of them. If you remember, the Birmingham City away game and the Sheffield Wednesday at home, I think were the two that Dobbo won when Gareth wasn't there.
Or perhaps he's just got a sofa at home that is shaped like a dugout.
Yes.
So he's just watching the big screen at home like he'd be watching the game.
But does he then make the rest of his family sort of like sit and play the roles of like maybe the substitutes?
Yeah, send them to warm up into the dining room.
Just because it must be a bit odd just sitting there sort of like on your own.
Yeah, as you say, we cover a bit about the transfer window because it's obviously the window is open.
It is.
And difficult time for players. Many squads, of course, have got a lot of injuries at this time. We're quite lucky. I think there's only really Dominic Gape and Nick Freeman who are long-term absentees, and I think Dominic Gape's not far from being available. We heard in the chat with Richard Dobson that Ryan Tafazoli is unavailable for a bit as well.
Yes, which, considering that there are now we know that there are 12 Ryan Tafazolis, you wonder, what, are they all got injured at the same time? Because we could do with one of them at the moment. No, seriously though, I'm sure I wasn't the only Chairboys fan to notice an article about Uchi at Middlesbrough, where apparently he's slightly fallen out of favour. And is maybe looking for a move in the January transfer window.
Good spot.
And you definitely think, well, Uchi, we'd be quite happy to have you. You could be another one of those players who comes back to Adams Park.
A lot do come back,
You
don't
would
they?
be welcomed with open arms. We would be very pleased to see you back at Adams Park. So yes, if you fancy it, Uchi, then get on the phone to Gareth.
And someone who's gone, but only temporarily, to the Africa Cup of Nations, Suli Kaikai.
Suli Kaikai, yes, is off to Cameroon. And one of the players that's actually been allowed to go, because I know that there have been plenty of naughty clubs who have denied their playing staff the opportunity to go and appear for their country. And it's one of, I can understand people being frustrated about it, but at the same time, the fact that we're talking about a competition in Africa, clearly you don't necessarily want your players playing in a major tournament in Africa in the middle of June, July. So that's why it's now. And yeah, I think you've got to release your players, because we would have uproar the other way around.
And whatever country you're representing, I think, Sierra Leone.
It doesn't matter.
It's just fantastic to be able to say, this is my
yes,
country.
Of course. There's no difference between Harry Kane representing England, TJ DeBar representing Gibraltar, or Suli Kaikai going and representing Sierra Leone. We should be completely behind them 100%. Say yes, go and good luck, and we hope you bring back the cup. That would be brilliant.
And another former guest on the show, Stuart Cash, his son Matty Cash, of course, representing Poland.
Yes, yeah. I think we've got the right idea in that I think you probably, whilst yes, you might want to keep the players during the African Cup of Nations, but that isn't actually going to help your team, because I would imagine that most of the players who aren't allowed to go are then probably slightly resentful and probably aren't doing you any good in the long term.
You can keep that as advice from Bob there.
Definitely, yes. Well done, Gareth, for letting Suli Kaikai go to the African Cup of Nations.
Going to the AFCON,
yes,
then they should certainly do that.
Yeah, you're doing the right thing.
Still to come, also on the show this week, we spoke last week's show to Dave Ward, who's the manager of Wycombe Wanderers Women, who are briefing their game. We've got there's some notice board bits, aren't there? There's a rearranged fixture to cover. But first, in our feature with former players...
You make it sound like an assembly or something.
Absolutely, yeah. Do detentions.
Bob's going to be reading the notices later on.
Exactly, yeah. We should do that, more like that. But first, with thanks, as always, to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association. Thank you. Excellent timing with your thank you. A big hello to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association. Hello. We've been speaking to Larry Pritchard, who you may remember from the early 70s, as a midfielder who dominated the centre of the, sloping park, as mentioned. And here's how he first became a Wanderer.
I was at Sutton United, and I was fortunate enough to get into the England squad and what have you, the Great Britain sides and stuff like that. And we used to have our training sessions on a Sunday and the games, practice games and that, at Bisham Abbey, which is where Brian Lee had his headquarters, and he managed that place, which was a big area, and right next to the Thames at Marlow, which was brilliant. So I used to go up there regularly and got to know Brian quite well. And then he started managing at Wycombe, and they were started to do well and started to look up. So I decided to go there and joined Wycombe. along with a couple of my friends who were playing at the same time. That was Ted Powell and Keith Blunt. Both of them, they're very good friends of mine. Both of them were at Sutton. Keith Blunt went up to Wycombe first, and then said how good it was and what have you. So we decided to do the same.
So what were your first impressions when you arrived?
I was a bit... I played at Wycombe before, once or twice, but initially the slope of the pitch at Lokes Park, you know, you come out of the dressing room and down onto the pitch, and it was like, well, it was quite steep.
Did that affect your game too much, obviously being a midfielder?
No, I quite enjoyed it. I was in midfield, I ended up getting forward, and it was good. You got used to it very quickly, but we never used the actual slope to our advantage. You know, there was no specific plans for using the slope, but it was how you delivered the ball into the slope that was good.
So how would you describe your own style of play and that of the team at the time?
Quite attacking. We won the league in those years, which was good. European League. We had good crowds, you know, quite full houses and that, and we had some good cup runs. Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it, and I got married while I was up there, and had children. So that was a bonus, and because they loved it up there as well.
And it must have been a fantastic time to be able to represent your country as well.
Oh, it was, yeah. For me, it was. It wasn't so good for the wife because I was away quite a lot, but yeah, it was a lovely time.
And are there any particular games which especially stand out?
Not really. No, I tend to take every game as not my last, but you know, I used to take each game as a nicely competitive situation.
Because I was reading on the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association Facebook page, John Maskell saying he couldn't remember you having a bad game. I think sort of your consistency is something that really stands out. Yeah,
well, I think that could be hidden when you work quite hard. You know, if you work quite hard, then some of the poor parts are, or your poor situations get missed.
So it's a fantastic record, though, of games that you played and also goals scored as well, which I guess is quite rare for a midfielder.
Yeah, I used to get forward quite a bit, and I fortunately had good players in front of me, you know. Keith Searle and people like that, and Tony, Butcher Horseman. You know, they were good players. And it allowed me to go forward, you know, in that situation. I was an attacking sort of player, so some of my defending might have been a little bit iffy, but I enjoyed it.
And what was it like playing under Brian?
Yeah, very good. Well organised. The training was well organised. Both him and John Reardon were good. You know, they worked well together. And it's nice having that little area behind the ground where you could, you know, do all the training sessions and that. Save the pitch getting too mucky.
No, definitely. And you speak to many ex-players, and it feels like, you know, their particular era or the time that they were at the club, the camaraderie among their teammates felt especially special. Was that something that you felt as well?
Oh yes, it was. Yeah, I mean, I've looked at a few photographs over the last week or so since your telephone call, and I can't believe how young some of these people look.
Does it feel like 50 years ago, or...
Oh, yeah, I know, it does. When I look back, I think, really, is that really 50 years? I looked at it and I thought, in actual fact, I wrote down, you know, I've got one of them in front of me, I put down, I got a photograph of the 1970-71 league-winning side in front of me, and I thought, 71? Blimey. Then you realise how far back that is from now.
And really nice that you're still in touch with many of your ex-teammates today.
Yeah, just a few, but I mean, there's unfortunately a few of them have passed us, I'm afraid. But that's been a few years now. For the likes of Keith Blunt and Ted Powell, you know, they've been gone quite a long time now, unfortunately. They were really close friends of mine, and sorely missed. We still see their wives now and again.
And we mentioned you got to represent your country, but also compete at the Olympics as well.
Yeah, we didn't actually qualify, but the games were very competitive, and it was good. very proud. But you don't get anything for that. You know, you don't get a cap or a badge or a shirt or anything like that. Which is, I used to revere the having a cap. You know, I've given one to my daughter, one to my son. And when I go round their house, they're on show in the hall, which is lovely, you know. My daughter still likes to go up to Wycombe, and she was only about 3 when she was 3 or 4, and she still enjoyed the atmosphere, you know.
And it must be so nice to have felt sort of a part of, if you like, the kind of history and building up to where the team are now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite proud of the fact that they're up there where they are, and how they've got there is brilliant. He's done a particularly good job, I think. The manager. I'm very pleased, and I'm proud to say I used to play for them.
No, it's a fantastic feeling, and as you say, to be part of the Ex-Players Association as well, and to really share memories from different eras of player. Exactly
right. Yes, yeah. I mean, I'm a very fortunate person. As much that I've got Wycombe, obviously, and Sutton, and they're doing particularly well as well. When I go down there, and it's nice to be, you know, I go down there once or twice a month, if that, and it's good, you know, nice to be sitting up there and watching it.
Did it feel like a particularly short period at the club at the time?
It did, yes, because I was only there about 3-4 years, if that, and but they were 3 or 4 years that I loved, and so did my wife.
So what happened to you after that? You returned to your hometown club?
I returned. I went back and I had a spell at Sutton, and then moved on into management and coaching. I was at Walton and Hersham. I managed them and coached them for a year or so. Then I left there and went back to Sutton and did some managing there and coaching, and until I've packed up, and that was it.
And what was that transition like from becoming a coach and a manager from being a player?
Completely different. Realising how difficult it was to run a lot of people and to sort out the clubs. You know, the important part is to be successful, isn't it? You know, when you're running anything like that, if you're successful as in winning games, then it's vital.
And overall, how do you look back at your time at Wycombe?
Oh, I loved every minute of it. The only downside was the travelling. You know, when you're travelling an hour and a half each time you're coming up, that was the only problem I had. But you get used to it, and I did. And it was nice when my wife started coming up with me. And then, obviously, I used to train up there with Ted Powell and Keith Blunt would be coming up with me. We'd share cars, which was good.
I was going to say, it's hard to imagine, isn't it? I say what feels like just a comparatively short time ago, but how things are different. You know, players are full-time now, and in your day, obviously, as you say, with the travelling as well.
Yeah. With, it is completely different, isn't it? You know, they obviously work harder during the course of the week, being full-time players. But it's good, and I'm quite proud to say that I was there. And it was always a welcoming place for me, anyway. And I know Ted Powell and Keith Blunt were exactly the same. They felt the same. Yeah, good, very good. It was just an experience that you wouldn't like to miss.
Really great to chat to Larry, who obviously was, as you mentioned, a real dominant part of the midfield and a real influential part of that team who won the Isthmian League in 71 and 73, I think.
Thank goodness that it's now sponsored, so nobody has to call it the Isthmian League anymore, which is one of the hardest words to say.
It is, isn't it?
Yes.
You want to try and break it up, but realise you can't.
Yeah, you know.
Isthmian.
Well, going way back when they were saying, what should we call our league? You know, who then said, oh, yeah, I know. What about the Isthmian League? Somebody said, yeah, that's a good idea. You know, no. I'm sure that other leagues are available.
Yes.
You know, I quite like the Spartan League, which sounds...
sounds a bit sparse.
It does, yeah. It sounds a bit sort of menacing, in a way.
Or it sounds a bit like a local food supermarket. Just pop down to your local Spartan.
Yes. That's very true. Other supermarkets are available. I've just been looking through, by the way, to find out about other games that are on
yes,
Saturday
please do.
after. So if you were thinking that actually,
or just other places of interest,
you could do a double header.
Places
on Saturday.
to go.
Although I think that you will be lucky if you manage to get out of the packed car park with all of the Sunderland fans who are going to complain about it on Saturday. But yes, Risborough Rangers are playing at home to Leighton Town. Risborough Rangers who are, of course, on their record-beating run of now, is it 51 games, something like that, where they haven't yet been beaten. So you can go along and see them. Beaconsfield Town are also playing on Saturday. They are home to Kings Langley.
I've played on the Beaconsfield Town pitch.
Have you?
It's very uneven. It might be better now. It was a while ago.
Was this when you played in a celebrity game? I'm now slightly having flashbacks to you talking about the fact that you played in a celebrity game.
Well, it wasn't really celebrity as such. It was a Media 11. But the manager was Mike Fillery. So
this is how we ended up talking about porridge last time.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, yeah. Listeners to the previous season of Wycombe Wanderers shows will remember that.
Yeah, check back for more details.
Yes, which one's the goodie?
And other inane references. Sorry, had you finished your local teams against?
So I'm still looking up about Pennant Isles Green and Holmer Green to find out whereabouts they are. I know that Flackwell Heath are away on Saturday. I can have a look for Chesham as well.
Marlow?
I can have a look for Marlow as well.
And other teams.
Other teams are available as well. But yeah, it's still impressive that you were in a Media 11.
I know, yeah, it's very local, very small.
Sorry, who were you playing?
Beaconsfield.
Oh, okay, you were actually playing the Beaconsfield team?
Yes.
And what was the score?
18-0.
To the Beaconsfield, I'm assuming. Yeah. Not
Yeah, but we came very close to scoring. We had a free kick from about a mile away, and there was a period in the second half where we went 20 minutes without conceding. That was a highlight.
Oh, well, that's quite good.
And there was a free buffet afterwards. I especially enjoyed that.
Afterwards, did your manager say that he was proud of you?
He didn't say anything. I don't think he just had his head in his hands.
What a disappointment!
I think I overdid it in the warm-up. I found the warm-up quite tiring.
I always don't like if you ever go and do any exercise type thing, with somebody who's sort of like training you or whatever, and they say, right, we're going to warm up first of all, and you get to the end of the warm up and you say, I'm done. How is that just the warm up? How am I going to survive another hour of this?
Another memory was I was on the bench for much of the game. Might surprise you, and until I was brought on the end, towards the end, and another of the substitutes was reading a newspaper during his own newspaper, coincidentally as well.
This does definitely sound like the Porridge film.
He was a sports editor at a local paper, I think in Slough, if I remember correctly. He was just reading their latest edition during the game.
Well, because presumably you were playing Beaconsfield Wycombe.
That's right. Yes.
Then rather. Which I always think again sounded like a slightly menacing side.
Yes.
But now they're slightly sort of like softer sounding Beaconsfield Town.
It stood for Slough Youth Club Old Boys.
It did, yes.
But now they're called Beaconsfield Town.
Yes, I know.
And I think their pitch is a lot better as well.
And they've redone the stadium.
I was going to say, quite a refurbishment, in fact.
Yes.
Yeah. So you could pop along there on Saturday.
But it used to be a talking point. I wouldn't have changed the name because people did wonder about Beaconsfield Wycombe, and particularly as you then came out of the service station and there was a sign there. You thought, oh, that's a funny name. So yes, I wouldn't have changed it back.
Final part of the Wycombe Wanderers Show to come. We'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth, and we'll be talking about other things as well. Here at Wycombe Sound.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Final part of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. Welcome back. Bob's Guide to Local Football on Saturday continues.
Chesham and Marlow are both away.
We've got some other notice board stuff, haven't we, about the Cambridge game?
Oh, hang on. I'm still...
sorry.
Holmer Green are also away, I think. Yes.
Is there a minibus going to that game?
No, that's just Risborough Rangers. Actually, I'm not sure about Holmer Green. I'll come back to them.
Okay.
Yes, so we found out today that our game against Cambridge United will be played on March the 1st.
Oh, St David's Day.
7:45 p.m. kick-off. And the tickets are still valid, etc., etc.
Please keep up repayments on your home or the loan secured on. That's the small print bit.
I didn't see that bit in the on the club website. But yes, 1st of March for Cambridge at home.
Have we got any other notice board stuff?
I think that's about it, actually, for notice board stuff. Other than the fact that Wycombe Wanderers women are playing this weekend, they are away to Abingdon.
Yes, all the best to them. We heard from Dave Ward on last week's show, looking ahead to their sort of new year and kind of next section, if you like, of their season. So wish them all the best for Sunday.
We really do, because we know that they've got 3 tough games coming up now against the teams that are at the top of the division. So all the very best to them.
Yeah, they're looking to top a sort of mini part of their division.
Yeah, well, that's what you have to do, isn't it? When when you're in those little mini leagues, such as we are at the minute, sort of fighting out with the top 6 or so. It's those results that matter.
Let's hear now, though, from manager Gareth Ainsworth, who I spoke to earlier on today at the training ground, when it was very early and cold. And early in the conversation as well, the mobile phone reception wasn't great, so do stick with it for that bit. But it does improve. But brilliant to speak to you, the manager, and obviously kicked off by wishing him a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. And yeah, you're right, Colin, there. No symptoms. I was one of the lucky ones, I think. Maybe unfortunate to contract the virus, but lucky in the fact that I didn't have any symptoms. Annoying more than anything, very frustrating, because it's almost isolating and there's nothing at all when you're home, but obviously you're carrying the virus, and we've got to be super careful now. So, like I said, the medical department here have done fantastic with us. The worst things, and we had a massive outbreak, but Nigel and Ali have really looked after the boys, and our cases have been very limited in this staff more than anybody. So yeah, it was hard to watch, believe me. But it was fantastic performance in both games. We were right in the Ipswich game to the end, and obviously watching Anthony blast over the bar was hard to take, because I thought the lads did way enough to get back in that game. But Ipswich a dangerous side and very good players. Obviously a fantastic crowd there as well. But the Charlton game I thought was brilliant. The boys knew what they had to do. We knew we had to get back on track. And they delivered without a doubt. Some attacking play was fantastic. The resilience at the back was brilliant. And, away at Charlton is a tough game, believe me. Johnny Jackson's got them playing well. And so I was very happy when I saw that final whistle on me and Josh Hart watching it on FaceTime via iFollow, via headphones into Matt Bloomfield. It was a tough one. I don't want to do too many of them, but a great result. And lads thoroughly deserve that win. Looking forward to Saturday now, and hopefully can build on what we're doing here.
And something that Richard Dobson said after the game was how well the team battled. That must be something that really pleased you as well.
Yeah, we know that. Over the years, I think that's one thing we are known for. Every time an opposition comes to town or we go there, they say we're in for a physical battle. I think there's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek there and a bit of shortcut to thinking, but yeah, my boys will battle and my boys will run, and I take that as given. I think when these managers say, yeah, we're going to be in for a physical battle, why aren't all teams battling physically? Because this is our livelihood. This is what we do. I would fight and scrap everyone who saw me play till the last breath to get a result, and I think that's it's a compliment, but it's also something that's fallen out of the game. I think that fighting and battling and running till the end is not just a Wycombe trait, surely. Everyone should be doing that. What we are adding to our game now is some fantastic play. I love everyone keep billing as the direct team, and it's superb to read, because I'm hoping people are just trying to cope with the direct team, because once we get in the opposition half, wow, players like Gareth McCleary and Anis Mehmeti, Darryl Horgan, Brandon Hanlon, we've got some real players in this team now, and I'm loving some of the attacking play around the edge of the opponent's box. But no, we're good at what we do. Everyone keeps telling me that, so if they all know what we do, try and stop us, because we're going to keep doing it.
So just going into a new year, what's your overall assessment of where the team are at the moment?
I'm really happy. I'm really pleased. I think we're not suffering from any relegation hangover, which was very important. We said that from day one. And I think, if I'm honest, I think we'd accepted that we were going down quite early in the running at the end of the season. But the boys thought, there's a chance, there's still a chance always. So the actual relegation itself, everyone had billed as relegated. Everyone had billed as the worst team ever to play in the Championship. And so it was no pressure on us. So when we came down, it was like, right, we'll show everyone, we'll prove everyone that we can get back there. So there was no hangover halfway through the season. I'm really, really proud to say we're in that top 6 in those playoff spots, and I think we rightly deserve to be there. We're not the biggest spending team in the league by a long, long way. We're just about touching the top 10 in those terms, but to be performing as we do every year, no matter what budget we have, no matter what squad we have, we will perform above and beyond our capabilities. The boys are doing that, so it's not a surprise to me. Really proud of where we are, and I think we've got a real chance with the fixtures that we've had already and the fixtures that we've got to come. Just hoping the pandemic can keep everything quite scheduled and quite normal. But you never know what's around the corner. And one thing we are good at is adaptability. We've been doing that for years. So, really proud, pleased, and want to push on from this position now.
And we were speaking to Pete Couig last week, who was obviously praising your karaoke over Christmas, but also talking. Apparently, there's some video somewhere, but it might just that might not get out. Apparently, but he was also saying that how big an impact COVID could have on the transfer window, with clubs perhaps being reluctant to let people go because they, especially either on loan or on a longer term basis, because they might be needing their players because of the virus as well.
Yeah, and that's the problem. To get players out of clubs now, you might have to overpay, you might have to try and prize them out, because clubs want to keep their players and their squads together. You lose 2 or 3 for COVID, and if you still got 14 fit players, apparently this is the remit to have a game on. I'm not sure if all clubs are following that, but you've got to have 14 good ones. So really, you've got to have about 18, 19, 20 really good ones, first team ready, because everyone's going to have 1 or 2 out through injury, maybe 1 or 2 out through COVID. So you've got to have these players in. Now, usually you have 14 or 15, and then your young boys make up the squad, and there's people going out here and loan and everywhere, and you can't do that. I wouldn't loan anyone out at the moment, because not in the first team setup, because what if we do lose a couple? I'd be stupid to lose any of my players. Having said that, there are some teams with huge squads, but it's also protocols, and are you doing the right thing, loaning a player out to another club when you don't know what their COVID protocols are? There's all sorts that come into this, and I think it is affecting yet another transfer window. We've got some targets, believe me, this season. I know Rob wants me to go for these targets, and we're going for them, but whether we can get them or not is a different story. And I'm not just going to do what I've done in the past when we had nothing back in the day and bring just bodies in. We can't do that. We need people who are going to make an impact, people who will improve what we've got, or challenge what we've got at least, and they're tough to find. But I go back to the start, and the 3 physios we have done an astounding job of keeping everyone fit. We've only got 2 long-termers, and Dominic Gabe's not far off of a return now, so only Nick Freeman really, and that was a horrendous, cruciate ligament challenge in the Lincoln game. So really, really pleased with where we are. Want some players in. Won't be panic stations if we don't, but 1 or 2 maybe would be fantastic additions to the squad.
Does this feel like a really exciting part of the season, because we've got 3 big games coming up at home this month, obviously all in the top 7 as well?
Yeah, I think we said this every month, Colin. We've got big games coming up. Even when we played Doncaster, Shrewsbury and Morecambe or whatever it was, they were big games. I mean, look what Morecambe are doing to teams. Shrewsbury, wow, they're climbing the league. So when you talk about the big games in the top 6, yeah, of course, everyone's looking at that top 8 now, really. Your ex-Premier League sides and Wycombe Wanderers. It's fantastic to be in there, and we really are. I give Rotherham as also a massive credit, but everyone else, I think, has been in the Premier League. Portsmouth, Sunderland, Ipswich, Wigan, Bolton, Charlton. All these teams have been in the Premier League, and to have the company that we've got, I think it's fantastic. I really do. And obviously MK Dons, Oxford need some credit as well, because they're hanging on as well. So brilliant to be there. And again, I always go back to where we were, and it's not all about sometimes, what we are now. It's where we were, to what we are now. It's a fantastic rise for this football club, and people talk about the Bournemouth story and the Sheffield United stories and things like that, and they're a lot bigger clubs than Wycombe Wanderers. Hopefully one day people will look and go, you know what, that little team in Buckinghamshire, they didn't do too bad either. Look at their rise, and it's down to everyone who works at this place and everyone who's supported this team, and hopefully we can get back to that second tier. That's the aim. I've loved it. I want to get back there, but we've got some real tough company to beat before we get there.
And I know we've spoken before about how special the club is in coming together, and really sad news this week about Alana Herford, or I know someone that you know well, and so pleasing that many of the players paid some glowing tributes on social media as well.
Yeah, nothing more than I expected. The players are fantastic. They know their fans, and the beauty of being such a tight-knit club is we do know those fans. And Lana obviously was a brilliant fan. She was there right at the start. Even my playing days, I remember she was always around, always making the noise on the terraces with a group of them, and that group grew over the years, and I think they became families, and it was an absolute shock to everybody that she passed away. We knew that there was an illness, but for one of our family to pass away like that is terrible news. It really is, and how we want to remember her is all the support she gave. I mean, she was a big Kevin Betsy fan back in the day when I was playing, and then when we first took over his management team, myself and Dobbo, I mean, we got some stick from the fans. We kept it together, and then I remember in one season coming up to us going, "Oh, thank you. You've done brilliant. Thank you for keeping us up, and thank you for propelling this club where we've gone." And I remember saying to them, "It's not us. It's not me. It's not Dobbo. It's not the players. It's everybody. It's everybody at Wycombe Wanderers." And I stand by that. She's played a huge part in the story of Wycombe Wanderers, and we won't forget one of our own. So rest in peace, Lana. Thank you for all your support, and I'm sure it's not the end of the glowing tributes to her. She was a great fan and a great person.
Really nice message from the manager as well.
Absolutely lovely to hear Gareth describing a fan as one of the family. We seem to be talking about this too often this season, which is a really, really sad thing to say, but it is true. But the club are so good, actually, at honouring and remembering those Chairboys fans who have passed away. Very, very sad. Another thing that they've been very good at this season, and always really, is supporting various causes that are very, very important. And this week, the club are supporting Prostate Cancer UK for the fixture against Sunderland. They're encouraging all men to undergo a 30-second online wrist checker just to boost the chances of catching any cancer symptoms early so that they can be treated. Gareth Ainsworth had this message to say.
Hi everybody, Gareth Ainsworth, Wycombe Wanderers. I want to talk about prostate cancer. Please take 30 seconds out of your day and fill in the online questionnaire at Prostate Cancer UK. Okay, 30 seconds is not a long time, but it could give you plenty of time to get things treated if anything's going wrong. It's such a terrible disease for men over 50, men over 40. Please, 30 seconds, it's not a long time. I've just spoke for 30 seconds, that's all it takes. Please do it today. Prostate Cancer UK. Thanks a lot.
He suddenly sped up at the end as well, didn't he?
The clock was ticking, and he thought, I've done my 30 seconds now. But yeah, it literally does take 30 seconds. It's not one of those surveys where they say, this is only going to take 2 minutes of your time, sir, and you're still there 10 minutes later at all. I took the check today. It does take 30 seconds. prostatecanceruk.org/risk check is the actual website address, but you can find it if you simply search for Prostate Cancer UK on Google.
And as you say, a really good cause, obviously, to be supporting, and very poignant for football fans, obviously male ones, but also female ones who know male ones to be thinking about as well.
Yeah, definitely, and it's something I think that is getting a lot more known about, but actually the amount of money that gets spent on it and the amount of money that prostate cancer raise is still really, really small compared to some other cancer charities. And I know that charities shouldn't be fighting against each other, but it is one of those organisations that does need our support. But the main thing that they want to do actually is to eradicate prostate cancer completely if they possibly can, which is why they do campaigns like this. So yes, 30 seconds is all you need to go online and just check, and it will tell you what to do, and it's well worth doing.
No, definitely, really good words. And also because I think, like many cancers, I guess, but obviously if you catch it early, then it's much more treatable.
Indeed that. As we've said a lot on Wycombe Sound, not necessarily on the Wycombe Wanderers Show, but over the last couple of years, definitely, if you want to help the NHS at the moment, then make sure that you look after yourself. And if you have any suspicious symptoms, get them checked out early, because the earlier you get them checked out, the better it is, not only for you, but also for the NHS as well.
Some of the things we've covered this week on the show.
Indeed.
Streakers, Gareth Ainsworth carpet. There was something else as well, wasn't there, that we didn't plan?
Yes, what was that now? I can't remember.
But
there's been so much that yes.
Some big games coming up, as we mentioned. Sunderland this week, the earlier kick-off time of 12:30. We've got Bolton away on Tuesday.
That'll
Oxford.
be a big game as
Absolutely.
well. Bolton away, that's real. You can see why they call it the it is sort of like a mini championship, isn't it? With us and the good old League One stalwarts Sunderland, who, let's not forget, have been in League One longer than we have.
Absolutely.
And Bolton as well, actually.
Local rivals Oxford to come as well.
Yes, I mean, that will be huge, won't it? Very much looking forward to that. It's always a decent atmosphere whenever Oxford come to town. So yes, very much looking forward to the Oxford United game next Saturday. Good to have 2 home games in a row. But yes, as you also have reminded people, it's 12:30 on Saturday, and yes, there's going to be quite a lot of people there. So if you are planning on driving, then make sure you get there nice and early.
Absolutely. You can perhaps take Bob's tips of things to do afterwards as well.
Yes, indeed. Yes. So Risborough Rangers, good luck to them. They are at home on Saturday, as are Beaconsfield Town as well. So if you fancy a double header, you might have to leave quite sharpish at the end to make sure that you get there. But we would recommend it.
I thought a double header was some sort of football training tip you've been giving as well.
Yes, it's what the 12 Tappers oldies do with each other.
Thank you very much indeed for listening. Have a great week. We'll speak to you at the same time next week. Some final couple of words.
Cheerio, and up the wick, as Pete Coohig would say.